40K. Warhammer 40,000. Let me see if I can do this under 10 minutes. So Warhammer 40,000 is a fictional universe similar to something like Star Wars or Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. However, Warhammer 40,000 contains a label that came from this universe, which is called Grimdark. Grimdark means that the setting is very, very dark. It is like one of the first things that every book has, like within the first few pages, has something in the grim darkness of the far future. There is only war, and it just says like forget the ideas of progress and tolerance and technological advancements. This whole universe is based on that. So what to give you an idea of Warhammer 40K imagine a universe the size of Star Wars. Of Star Wars. It takes place on the Milky Way. Pre-Disney Star Wars. Imagine a universe of Star Wars. Add to that the fantastic elements of something like Lord of the Rings. Which, we have elves, we have orcs, there's dwarves, there's a few other species on top of that, very high fantasy kind of thing. There's even dragons and whatnot. I mean, they have their own version. And then you add the grittiness and the darkness of something like a Game of Thrones, and you get something along the line, and you get Warhammer 40K. Of course, the universe is absolutely massive. This is a universe that has, I believe, at this point, over 600 novels. Something ridiculous. Like, there has to be well over 100 games, I would say, but I would say 50 plus video games. It has about 50 plus video games, I would say. It has several TV shows, and I think there's even a film based on Space Marine. So, how the hell do you get through 600 novels? You don't. What happens is that it's a massive universe where there's something like, I believe there's around 20 main factions. There's roughly 20 factions, many of which are human. The humans are divided into several factions. You have the Imperium of Man. All of them fall under the Imperium of Man. The Imperium of Man being the main, just the empire of mankind. There's a massive timeline that goes to this. Like, the story dates back to like 60 million years before. And 40,000 is 40,000 years after birth of Christ. The common calendar that we have. A lot of shit happens, but basically you have 4 main factions of the humans. You have, so among the factions, you have humans, there's elves, there's orcs, there's dwarves. Dwarves are a minor faction right now. There's this thing called Necrons. There's this thing called, let's see, what else? We have the Tau. There is, what else? And then there's the Warp. The Warp, which is chaos. In this fictional universe, this is Warhammer 40K. Yes, in this fictional universe, did I accidentally... Oh, that was my computer, sorry. In this fictional universe, one of the things it has is the Warp. The Warp is the area that is often called the Immaterium. Which is the area, like the spiritual place, so like hell is an actual place in this place, and it has 4 factions. There are 4 factions on the Immaterial, 5 technically, and then you have, humans. They have the Guard, the Imperial Guard, which is men and women like everybody else, regular Marines with their laser guns and whatnot. Imagine like the stormtroopers of Warhammer 40K, except they have a bunch of different sub-factions, because human beings are right now the dominant faction of the galaxy. So they have a million worlds, and each of those worlds has been for a while. So the Imperial Guard is one of those, all of the factions, right? Then you have the Space Marines. Space Marines are super evolved, genetically engineered super soldiers that are just awesome. Hell is a planet. Hell is its own dimension. There's a dimension of hell. So yeah, it has that kind of stuff. Space Marines, of course, they are bigger than do this. Yes, well, we are gonna analyze. I just wanted to see if I could do this, right? So Space Marines bigger than other humans. Have 3 lungs, 2 hearts. Their skin is replaced with the black carapace. They wear like insanely heavy armor. That's where you get like the games of Space Marine. They have a bunch of different legions and chapters, each of them themed after different things. So for example, there's the White Scars, which is like space Mongols. There's the Ultramarines, which is like space Romans. There's the Blood Angels, which is like space Catholic Church vampires, stuff like that, right? So there's a little bit of everything for everyone. Similar to Doom, kind of like Doom, yes, but in this scenario, Chaos has its own separation of powers. Then there is the Inquisition, which is basically the secret service of humanity, where their slogan, and I shit you not, their slogan is innocence proves nothing. They have unlimited power. They are the most powerful people in the entire galaxy. They have the power of doing what is called exterminatus, which is to destroy planets. Then the other faction that I think it's kind of like one minor faction, because inside the Inquisition falls stuff like the Adepta Sororitas, the Sisters of Battles, which is nuns wearing power armor. That kind of thing. And then you have the Custodes, basically, which is the other faction. These are the guys guarding the Emperor of Mankind. Because through many events that happened, the Emperor of Mankind is now sitting on a throne dying. The Elves are divided into 3 main factions. The Craft Worlds, which is, high elves, they're nomads, they're riding in these continent-sized ships trying to find new worlds. There's the Drukhari. Drukhari, they're the dark elves, they're super fucked up, they're the most fucked up faction of the entire thing. And then there's other minor factions like the Inari, the Harlequins, there's a little bunch of others. Orcs are the most fun. Orcs are by far the most fun faction in the entirety of 40k. Orcs have the power of belief. And in this world, orcs are massive. We're talking like 5-6 meter tall, hulking beasts of pure muscle. And they are incredibly stupid, but they have the power of belief. If enough of them believe something, it becomes true. It's that simple. They are by far the most fun, because all they want is to fight. That's all they want to do. They don't care about anything else. They are by far the most hilarious. The dwarves, they are the Tyranids. I forgot the Tyranids. The Tyranids. I'm completely misspelling this. Dwarves, they are now called the Leagues of Votan. They were extinguished for a while. Now they're back. Necrons are like, imagine the Terminator. Put them in like space mummies, like in like Egyptian mummies, and give them unfathomably advanced technology for that kind of stuff, and you get the Necrons. They're one of my favorite factions. Tau are the youngest faction in this whole thing. They are these like super diplomatic communists. They only use long-range weaponry. They haven't figured out faster than light travel, that kind of stuff. Then there's Tyranids. Imagine Alien, imagine the Zerg. They are these like massive bug-like beings that are invading the galaxy, and all they want to do is eat. They have a hive mind, and they want to destroy everything because they want to eat all the biomass. So it's insanely. Does any of the factions have furries? Some of them do, yeah. Like part of the guard has the Felinids. There are probably the Drukhari have furries, that kind of thing. And then there are the factions of Chaos. Chaos is subdivided into 5 main factions, one after each of the Chaos gods that exist. So the Chaos gods would be Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. And each of these have a theme, right? So Khorne is the chaos god of war, of violence, and of honorable death. Tzeentch is the god of trickery and scheming. Nurgle is the god of rot and pestilence. And Slaanesh is the god of excess. So yeah, all of these have this. And then the 5th chaos faction is Chaos Undivided, which is, this is where you get like your Space Marines that fell to chaos, that kind of stuff. So all of these factions are incredibly overpowered, every single one. And yes, there are sub-factions among all of these factions. And yeah, every single one of these factions insanely overpowered, and they all have every single faction. This is something I love about 40k. They have this faction would rule the galaxy if it wasn't for, and then you give them something, right? So the humans, right now, the humans would dominate the galaxy if it wasn't for the fact that they are completely backwards, like completely drowned out in bureaucracy and in backwards views. The elves would dominate the galaxy if it wasn't for the fact that they are nearly extinct. The orcs would dominate the galaxy if it wasn't for the fact that they are unbelievably stupid. That kind of thing. So every faction has a little bit of things, and yeah, then it spans a bunch of novels. The three biggest events that happen are the War in Heaven, the Horus Heresy, and the Fall of Cadia. These are like the three most pivotal events in the entire history, and there are a bunch of others that are also just as much. But yeah, these are the three main events. We're not going to get into those because then there's where the timeline goes. But that's kind of like a quick summary of what is Warhammer 40k. And if you play a game, and that's the cool thing, when you get into like the individual games or individual books, you're not getting the entire setting as a whole, but you're getting something specific. For example, the game Darktide, you are fighting in a single world. You are a penal legion of the Inquisition. So you're playing as people trying to atone for your sins. You're sent in suicide missions, and your main opponent is forces of Nurgle. So you have chaos cultists that belong to Nurgle, the god of pestilence, and you get it from there. Space Marine, for example, Space Marine 1, you fight is Ultramarines, Marines versus Orcs. And I think Khorne as well. So every single one of these games and everything focuses on a specific story and a specific set of combinations. And given the fact that the universe, that the galaxy, is the Milky Way galaxy, you can get pretty much any combination with this. Orcs would dominate the galaxy if they weren't British. No, like even then, like football hooligans are very smart compared to the orcs. Like the orcs are unbelievably stupid. And yeah, there you go. That's a quick and dirty of how what Warhammer is. Of course, there's a bunch of channels out there that go way more into detail. If you want to learn more, there is a beginner-friendly channel that is the Adeptus Ridiculous. Which is a channel run by Bricky and DK. Bricky does some very cool deep dives. Like, he does an overview of all the factions. They don't always get things right, but, in a universe that big, it's pretty difficult. There's Luetin. He's really good at doing a bunch of deep dives. There is the Pontifex, I think it's his channel. He goes into some of the more nitty-gritty, like extremely specific scenarios. Who else is there? There's Major Kill. He's like Australian. You look Australian. Do you have a video of you explaining Warhammer on your channel? This is the first one. I do have some audiobooks that I've done of a couple of Warhammer short stories in my channel. And they are like very specific characters. They're very specific stuff. Then there's a bunch of other lore channels out there, but I would say Adeptus Ridiculous is probably the most friendly, because Adeptus Ridiculous is literally Bricky explaining to his friend DK what Warhammer is, and they go faction by faction. And then you can do like Luetin for some of the more deeper dives into some of the stuff. And of course, eventually, just second, you explained this once before. I think I have, but I don't think I uploaded it. And then my favorite show ever, If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device. This is a parody that exists on YouTube. It is, of course, unfinished because Games Workshop scared the creators into stopping to do this, and it's brilliant. I absolutely love it. Why is the stream laggy? Probably because you have a ad blocker on, because Twitch has started doing that. Yeah, we did explain this in the past, but I think this time I'm just gonna upload this one. And there you go. I think that was just under 10 minutes. And now we're actually going to get started with the stream. How about that? GG, everybody.